Hi guys! Today I have a little bit of a different video for you. Today we are going to be going through all of the books on my shelf, selling over half of them to a secondhand bookstore, and then getting store credit to hopefully buy a good amount of books. But my shelves are overflowing to a point where I had to buy a basket to keep my books in, and we need to fix that problem. I also hate half the books on my shelves now. I just wanted to show y'all the actual shelf that you are on top of. But over here we have romance, and then we have a couple extra romance books that wouldn't fit on here, plus an entire stack of Colleen Hoover. Like I said, my taste has changed a lot because now I do not buy Colleen Hoover. Moving on, over here we have all of my fantasy books, including the entire Shatter Me series, ACOTAR, and the Inheritance games. And then at the bottom we have 4 just miscellaneous books. Over here we have all of my thriller, and then here we have all of my lit fic. I've also been prioritizing library books a lot, which is the basket that I was talking about. And I would show you that, but it's just library books, so we don't need to worry about getting rid of those. First, let's go through my romance shelf. So the first books we have are the Summer I Turned Pretty series, which is upside down, but this is the first, second, and third book. I am going to keep this series just because I feel like I might want to read it this summer, but if I don't end up reading it this summer, then I will definitely get rid of it. We have both of my Emily Henry books, which Beach Read I will definitely be keeping because I haven't gotten around to reading it. I read the first half and it was right after my dad passed away, and in this book the girl's dad passed away, so I had to put the book down, but it seemed really, really good. So I want to keep it on my shelf to read this summer. Next one I have is Happy Place, and Happy Place I am going to get rid of because I bought this in Portugal and it is missing the first 7 pages. I don't know if their publishing is kind of cheaper or anything, but if you can see, it starts on page 7. So I am going to donate this one. Okay, next I have All the Bright Places and Love and Other Words. I actually have read both of these. I remember All the Bright Places making me very emotional, so I am going to keep this one on my shelf, but Love and Other Words didn't really stick out to me. I don't remember a single thing from this book, and I'm not a huge romance reader anymore, so I am going to get rid of this one. So we have my Lynn Painter books, which at the time, 2 years ago, these were my ish, okay? Better Than the Movies, I tabbed like crazy, and then the Do-Over, I think I didn't like it because it's a Groundhog's Day trope and I'm not a fan of Groundhog's Day. I am actually going to get rid of both of these just because, like I said, I'm not a romance reader, and Lynn Painter's romance feels very YA to me, so it's not really my jam. The last book on my romance shelf is The Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I read this 2 years ago and I thought it was so slow, and I just remember not liking it. So I am gonna get rid of this. Okay, next let's move on to my overflow / Colleen Hoover shelf. I have a feeling we are going to be getting rid of a lot on this one. So the first book I have on this one is The Wedding People. I actually don't know if this is a literary fiction or a romance. When I first got it, I thought it was a romance, but now I think that it's a literary fiction. But I'm going to be getting rid of this one because I don't feel like it's a plot that's really gonna impact or stick with me, and I would rather give it to somebody who wants it more, and I can just check it out of the library if I ever really want to read it. Next book on my overflow shelf is What Happens in Paradise by Ellen Hilderbrand, and I debated keeping this one just because it is an autographed edition, and I feel like I could get better money for it if I kept it, but I'm gonna have to think on this one, okay? I hadn't read this yet, and I just read the synopsis, and I think I am gonna keep this one for a little bit, at least until I read it. Okay, now let's get into the Colleen Hoover books. I'm basically just gonna say keep or not. It Ends With Us, not keeping. Regretting You, not keeping. November 9th, not keeping. Reminders of Him, not keeping. Maybe Someday, not keeping. Ugly Love, not keeping. Verity, keeping. Never Never, not keeping. Too Late, keeping. Out of those 9 Colleen Hoover books, there are 2 that I actually like and will be keeping. Too Late was just so entertaining, and it's what got me out of my book slump. so I think I could like reread it. I ended up giving it like 3 stars, but it's just such a fast-paced, entertaining book. So I am just gonna keep it on my shelves for a little while. Bookshelves look this empty is kind of breaking my heart, but also I am so excited to get more books on my shelves that I will actually read and enjoy. Now let's jump into my fantasy shelf. The first couple books on here are the first 2 books of the Inheritance games. I've tried to start the first book so many times, I think like 4 times, and I can never get into it. So I'm gonna give away both of these just because I don't think I'm ever gonna read it. Next we have the entire Shatter Me series, which I am gonna keep on my shelf. I read the first 2 and actually gave Shatter Me a 5-star and then ended up getting in a book slump, so I didn't finish them. And now I kind of forgot what they're about, so I think that I need to go back and reread. Okay, next we have the first book in the ACOTAR series, which is obviously ACOTAR. I am gonna keep this one at least for like a month. I'm currently reading the second book in the series on my Kindle, and if I like the second book, that will help me determine whether or not I want to get the rest on my shelf, or if I just want to give this one away and be done with that series. Finally, on my fantasy shelf, we have The Hunger Games, which I am 1000% going to keep. I actually haven't read the book because I've seen the movie, and so I was like, like I've seen the movie, I don't need to read the book. But I've been hearing so much about how good these books are, so I want to get the entire series and read them. Okay, my next shelf is my literary fiction shelf, which actually you will notice most of these are TBR books that I am so excited for. First book on here is The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. I have read this one. I gave it a 3.5 star, but my stepmom gave me this copy, so it would feel wrong to donate it, so I'm definitely keeping it on my shelf. Next we have A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. Fredrik Backman is one of my favorite authors of all time, but I haven't even read A Man Called Ove yet. It's so high on my TBR, so I'm definitely keeping this one. Then we have Beartown by Fredrik Backman. If you can't tell, I ate this book up, and it's one of my favorite reads of last year, so I am definitely keeping this on my shelf. Then we have I Who Have Never Known Men. This is by Jacqueline Hartman. I haven't read this yet, and it is the next book I'm going to read. Like, this is so high up on my physical TBR. It's the next book I'm reading. Next we have The Outsiders. I'm pretty sure I have a copy of this from like school. It is a modern classic, so I'm debating keeping it, but I do think I'm gonna get rid of it just because I can't see myself ever going back and reading it. Then we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I only rated this like a 3.5 star, but I did annotate it quite a bit, and I'm not ready to part with it yet, so I am gonna keep it on my shelf. Then we have The Song of Achilles. This is by Madeline Miller. I also have not read this yet, and it is also another one that's so high on my TBR, so I have to keep it. My next 2 like most anticipated reads, Normal People by Sally Rooney and Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. This is Dylan Gossett's favorite book right now, and he's my favorite booktuber, so I was influenced. And then Normal People is so like viral and everybody loves it. So I'm definitely keeping both of these and need to read them. Lastly, we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which if you can't tell, I definitely loved this book. I gave this a 4.5 stars. It's another one of my favorite books of all time, so I'm definitely keeping this on the shelf as well. Okay, next we have my thriller shelf. The first book on here is John Grisham's The Window. My grandpa gave me this, and because he gave me it, I do not have the heart to donate it ever, and I'm still yet to read it, so I'm keeping this one. We have The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I also have not read this. My mom did and cracked the spine quite a bit, but it's absolutely fine. Since I haven't read this yet, I do want to keep it on my TBR, so I'm going to keep it. Next, we have the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, which I am actually going to donate the entire series because I liked the first book enough to give it a 3 stars, but not to continue, and I just don't really want it on my shelf. Then we have Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I read this to about page I read this to page 145, ended up getting in a book slump and not finishing it, but I do want to finish it eventually, so I'm going to keep it on my shelf. Then we have Life Expectancy by Dean Koontz. This is highly anticipated thriller that I think I am going to give like a 4.5 stars and potentially love, so I'm definitely keeping it. Next we have Billy Summers by Stephen King. I've never read a Stephen King novel, and I've heard this one is so good. I tried to listen to the audiobook like 3 years ago, but I think I was still too young for a book this thick. But I do want to read it, and I'm excited about that. The Housemaid and the Silent Patient. I'm going to donate The Housemaid. It was good. It's not great, and I don't really need it on my shelf. However, it looks like 2 years ago when I read it, I loved it. The Silent Patient. I actually haven't read this one, and I do want to read it, so I'm going to keep it on my shelf for a little while. We are on to my last shelf, which is my miscellaneous shelf. The first book on my miscellaneous shelf is Lonely Girl by Anna Vichon. I read this book, I hated it, and it's a nonfiction, and I'm donating it. I don't want to say anything else about it. I hated this. We have Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. I have not read this. I honestly don't even really know what it's about. I believe that it's a literary fiction / romance, but I am going to keep it on my shelf. Next we have If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. I remember reading this and it being a really, really good sad romance, so I am gonna keep it just to reread eventually, but it's not high on my TBR, but I am gonna keep it. Then we have My Book of Life by Angel. I had to read this in like 8th or 9th grade for a school assignment. I haven't looked back on it since, so we're gonna donate. Lastly, we have 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott. I don't even know how to say the name. I'm gonna donate this just because I've seen the movie and it's so YA and I don't find it necessary to have on my shelf. So I'm gonna show you these stacks of books that I'm donating. This is 25 books, which I feel like is a pretty sufficient amount, but like, look at this. Here's stack 1, and then we also have stack 2. These are so heavy and I don't even know how I'm gonna carry it into the store. But I am hoping to get books that either I have never read and are excited to read on my shelf, or books that I have read and absolutely love that I don't own. Okay, so Second and Charles only gave me $7 cash for 25 books, which I thought was a little bit crazy. But all the books there that I want to read and that are like highly anticipated for me, they were charging like $30 for. So I was like, I can find this cheaper literally at Target. I wasn't going to do that. So I went to my local library and picked up a bunch of books that were $1 a piece for paperbacks. Okay, the first book I picked up is You Should Have Known by Jean Hanff Korelitz. And this is about a woman who's very successful. She's a doctor and she writes a book called You Should Have Known, where she's basically saying, trust your gut, listen to your intuition, and don't trust men. And she has her own husband, and then she goes against her gut and doesn't listen to it. Someone dies, her husband goes missing, and her and her child are alone. Crazy concept. I was very intrigued. Then I picked up The Odds of You and Me by Cecilia Galenti. This is a book about a woman who has a 6-year-old son, and then she sees her old coworker in public one day after seeing him on the news, and she knows that he needs help. He points a gun at her, and he's like clearly lost his mind. So she really wants to help him, and this is basically her navigating whether or not she's going to help him, is my understanding. Next we have An Invisible Thread by Lauren Schroff and Alex. I'm not even gonna try. This is about a woman who walks past an 11-year-old boy who's a beggar on the street, and she's like, I'm not giving you money. And then she turns around and is like, you're 11 years old and struggling. I should probably give you money. And then she ends up having a conversation with him, and they become friends and keep in touch for many years to come. Next, I grabbed The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo. This is so, like, it's everywhere. When I was in Second and Charles, they had an entire shelf just dedicated to this book, which I had never even heard of it before. But this is a book about 2 people who fell in love their senior year of college, but had to go their separate ways, and they just end up crossing paths after that. and kind of them like exploring their relationship and moving through life together. Okay, finally we have Prodigal Summer by Barbara Kingsolver. I'm currently reading Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, and I love Demon Copperhead, and I'm loving Kingsolver's writing, so I definitely wanted to read another book by her. It just basically says that it celebrates the prodigal of human nature and nature itself. It weaves together 3 stories of human love with a larger tapestry of lives amid the mountains of southern Appalachia. Sounds interesting, sounds cool to me. And then actual library books I checked out, I got Recursion by Blake Crouch. I was gonna buy this at Second and Charles, and it was $30, so I found it for free at the library. And I only have a month to read it, but still, like, found it for free at the library. Dark Matter, which is another sci-fi novel of his, is my all-time favorite book. And I've heard if you like Dark Matter, you will love Recursion. So what is this gonna be? My all-time favorite book? I don't know. And then we have So Late in the Day by Claire Keegan. I actually don't really remember what this is about. I saw it in someone's YouTube book review, and they were like, it's so short, but like it'll leave such a heavy impact on you. So I wanted to read it. But those are all the books that I picked up. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch y'all next time.